Sequels. Let's talk about them.
Let's do it.
They're a continuation of a story. Sometimes. Sometimes they're just like, hey, there's another number on this thing and it has nothing to do with the original.
Looking at you, Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
That's a good example, yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes they just change the formula altogether.
That's kind of what happened here.
That's true. We're going to talk about a video game
Mm-hmm.
that's a sequel.
It's a very controversial game.
That's true. A sequel that was the first sequel in a long-running franchise, which seems real crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess like not technically the first sequel, like the first true story sequel to another game.
Correct.
Because otherwise it'd be like, that wouldn't have made much sense. Anyways, hello, welcome. This is the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. I'm Jared, joined as always from location in hot Florida. Can you hear me via satellite? And Ladyem, are you there?
It's so hot. It's like a swamp here. I mean, it's just... I mean it is a swamp. It literally is a swamp, but it's like hot and humid, and I'm just surprised that I haven't melted yet.
Live from Florida, we are now talking with a pile of goop.
Probably. I mean, a pile of goop surrounded by kitty cats. Seems legit.
Yeah. Today, like you said, we're going to talk about a very controversial game in a series that is very well known. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy X-2.
I do want to mention that I had said last week, hey, I really want to talk about this thing. I need to run it by Jared. I hope he says yes. And then, like, after we stopped recording, I was like, hey, Jared, can we do Final Fantasy X-2? And he's like, yes. I don't know why you'd even question why I would say no to that. But yes,
right.
We're going to do Final Fantasy X-2. So I was going to say I campaigned very hard for this, but I really didn't, because it was literally like, hey, can we do this? Yes. Okay, cool. We're done.
Considering, like, this was a backup plan for last week as well, so it's like, it would have been totally fine either way.
Yeah.
So this is the first actual story sequel in the Final Fantasy broad series. The 22nd Final Fantasy game, to be exact, because that's real dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of those. And then eventually they did go on to make other sequels to games. Like they made one for 4, 13 got 5,000 sequels.
I think technically Final Fantasy VII has sequels if you want to go that direction as well.
But I think even this predates those.
It does.
15 had just a smorgasbord of really dumb tie-in stuff, which you could call some prequels or sequels, mostly prequels.
Fishing.
It's all just terrible. Fishing, yeah. Fishing in VR, multiplayer. Anyways,
But this was the first.
This was the first. And I guess, like, I wasn't in the zeitgeist of Final Fantasy or RPGs at the time when this came out, so I really don't know, like, the fervor around it, like how people reacted when they saw, like, oh, they're making a sequel to Final Fantasy X. Like, were people excited, or was it like when they first saw it and saw gameplay and saw who the main cast was that like the first startings of the trepidation with this game?
See, I honestly don't know, because I didn't know a whole lot of people that were into Final Fantasy at the time, but and I have a pretty funny story, I guess. It's funny to me. When Final Fantasy X-2 was coming out, I couldn't pre-order it because there wasn't a store around me that was going to pre-order it. So I just repeatedly kept going to the Blockbuster, and I was like, hey, I want to buy this game, because I knew they would sell new games at that point. And they're like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I'd literally go every single day to this Blockbuster. Did it come yet? Did it come yet? Did it come yet? And there have been 2 games in my life that I've done that with, and that is Final Fantasy X-2 and Persona 3. And neither of them were mistakes in me going and hampering these poor, really underfunded employees at stores so I could get my games.
Did you just never look up, like, when the game was supposed to come out, or were you just, like, hounding them every day?
No, it was supposed to come out, and there was the ship date.
Right.
And it just did not come on the release date, so it was still waiting. And then Persona 3, I don't know if you remember that. That one had, like, a target release date, and then it kept getting pushed back. So it was like a month and a half after its actual release date when it actually came out.
That's kind of like, I guess, a little bit of a side note. Like, games like nowadays, like you get them on release day, like
Yeah.
immediately, like maybe sometimes like at midnight they'll just drop on digital stores. 7-8 years ago, that still wasn't the thing that was happening. Like it would sometimes be like, oh, the store didn't get it until noon on the day of release, so like they're still trying to put it out on shelves.
Yeah, and in the case of Final Fantasy X too, I think it was like 3 days later after the release date that they got it, and then I went home immediately and was like, "Yes, this is amazing." Um, I guess for background on me though, Final Fantasy X was really, really impactful for me as a person, as a gamer. Partially because of a particular character, which you know this because you know me, but um, like I even have an email address based off of her. But
You
Riku,
do.
I do. Riku was my jam. Like she was the first character that I legitimately was like, oh my God, this character is like me. I relate to this person so much. I think she's like one of the greatest video game characters ever written. And so I was super, super stoked. Also, there was a romance at 10, and that's just, I'm all about that. So 10 hurt a lot. And then they're like, hey, we're going to do a 10 2, and it's going to have Yuna, and it's going to have Riku. And I'm like, I am so in, like 1,000% in. And so I guess that's my background coming into this, is that I've been a very long-standing Final Fantasy fan. I've been a fan of the series since the 90s. And Final Fantasy X was a really, like, emotional game for me, and it had a character that I very much attached myself to, so I was excited to get a continuation of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that this was like in the era before YouTube and all that, so for all you youngsters, yes, I'm old. I'm very old. It was hard to come across content for like what it was going to be, except for like in game magazines.
Yeah, totally.
So, you got pretty pictures and pretty art, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. I was so, so happy, but I didn't really know what to expect when I started playing it. And I know your experience is a ton different.
Right. Because, like, I had played 10 around the time it came out, but not, like, a lot of it, and never really went back to it, because, like, at the time I was garbage at playing RPGs, because I didn't really understand how to play them.
Right, you weren't into RPGs.
Right. Eventually, like, after I'd started actually kind of playing them and understanding them with thanks to Persona 4 and all that, I went back and played 10 a few years back now. And I think we've talked about this before on here, but, like, I don't really like Final Fantasy X. I don't think it's a good game. And I know we have disagreements on that, and that's fine. But I liked Yuna. I think she was, like, the character, like, I thought was, like, the best out of that game. And that was, like, one of the shining moments that that game kind of had. And when 10-2 came out, like, I never really had any, like, reverence for it or anything, because I was like, I didn't really play much of 10, so I'm not going to buy this, and whatever. It's got the girls as main characters. That's cool, whatever. And then eventually, like, you came around and was like, hey, you should play 10-2. You should play 10-2. And I was like, okay, I'll play 10-2. And, like, I was just, like, amazed at how much better this game was than 10.
Well, and one of the reasons why I kept recommending it is because I knew how much you liked Yuna.
Mm-hmm.
And so, obviously, you get way more Yuna in this. And the thing is about Yuna, she's a very, very complex character that people don't give a lot of credit to, unfortunately, that she deserves it.
Right.
People discount her a lot, and I know we've discussed this before. Yuna is the deuteragonist of Final Fantasy X.
Absolutely.
Final Fantasy X would not have been what it was without Yuna. She is essentially the core of the story. She's what drives it. It's not Titus. It's not Titus, whatever you want to call him. He is not the one that keeps the story moving along. He's not the one that you're supposed to really be focusing on. He's just kind of your avatar. He's the one that you have to be in order to see her story play out.
And just listen to him complain about his old man.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. But
my old man just wouldn't listen to me. He didn't like me. I had wanted to play blitzball. Ha 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 ha.
So, I think that's one thing that people really seem to miss is how important Yuna is to Final Fantasy X.
Right.
And the fact that she was the protagonist of 10-2 was just A plus. Yes. Like if I could do a chef's kiss, that's what this would be, because Yuna deserved to have more than what she got in 10.
Yeah.
In terms of like character development, story, everything. Like Yuna deserved more. And I'm glad that Yuna got more in 10-2. And I feel like it gave her an opportunity in this game to kind of spread her wings and show people what she's made of. And I was so happy for that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think just having her as like the main focus and kind of like removing a bunch of the characters I didn't like from 10, like that immediately I was like, okay, I'm pretty much on board with this. And just with how the game is, which we'll get into later on, like there's so many changes that they make to 10-2 that are so smart and make so much sense that it's almost baffling that other video games haven't really done this in terms of like with how they make sequels.
I mean, I will just say this has the single best battle system of any Final Fantasy, period.
Yeah, I mean it's weird how like a lot of people discount this game, and like
you know why?
I mean I know why, but like you always hear about like people being like, oh man, I really love the job system. 10-2 is essentially the job system again, but people never really talk about that.
You know why?
Yes, I do know why. I'm just saying like that's one of the aspects of the game like you never really hear people like talking about in terms of like why this game should be good or anything like that.
No.
Or like when people talk about the reverence of the job system, it's always like, man, I love Final Fantasy 3 and 5 and whatever other ones they had, like the early ones, not 10-2, which it's the same thing.
It is literally job system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it you know why, but
I 100% know why.
It's literally my favorite battle system of any Final Fantasy. It's so good. It's smooth, it runs well, it's a lot of fun. It actually can take some strategy if you really are trying to take on harder enemies.
Yeah.
You can't just stick with your standard like I forget what Payne's class, warrior, gunner, and thief. If you stick with those 3 defaults, you're
boned.
You're never going to beat this game.
No.
And it also appeals to the collector in me that I can go and like pick up more outfits and more jobs throughout the game. So that was also really, really awesome for me that I'm like, oh, hey, I can go do this quest and go get this outfit. I'm going to go do that.
Even though I played through that entire game and still have no idea how the garment grid works.
Garment grid's actually pretty easy. It's just not explained very well in the game.
Because I think I played through that entire game and like I had stuff equipped to it, but I never understood how like the statuses or like those types of things worked.
Yeah, so it'll have.
So I was like whatever.
If you have the garment grid up, like say you have one that has like 3 or 4 prongs, depending on which costume you're in, like if you have like red and blue prong lit up and it's like then you have Cura. So if you're on any of those sides, then you'll have Cura. If you move away from that one, you won't have it. But if you want to have the full effects of the garment grid, what you do is you actually move through each job and then it what's the word I'm looking for?
So essentially you're kind of like comboing each job together?
Yeah, so you would keep switching the outfits until you activate the garment grid itself, and then so if it has like a special ability on the garment grid, then like bam, you're done. And then one of the other benefits of being able to go through the different costumes is that eventually like once you have the special garment grids, then you pop through them. Like there's one that's only 2 prongs, and that's specifically so you can always get the special garment grid because you go from one to the other and then you can pop up that special garment or a special job. And then like if you want to do Yuna's super dress sphere, then You just move, done. You can activate it.
That makes way more sense than I ever learned in that game.
That's what I'm saying, is they do a really bad job of explaining it, but depending on, so that's part of the strategy of the game, is that if you have a garment grid and say you really use this job the most, so say I use Dark Knight a lot with Pain, which is true.
Right. Yeah.
Then I would want to put the Dark Knight dress sphere in a section of her garment grid with, like, say I want to have the ability to cure or something like that. I would want to put that one in the section where it would be the ability to have Cura.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, there's a lot of strategy to it. If you're trying to, like, really break the game, but you can get through, obviously, without knowing how to work it.
For me personally, like, I don't know how much that would, like, go for my play style of, like, switching back and forth, because mostly when I played this game, like, I stuck to something until I had to switch it, and then I stuck to that, basically.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my end game is always 2 Dark Knights and an Alchemist. That's always what I do. Because, fun fact, you can throw down, like, the dark move with the Dark Knights, and it pops away their health. And it's a hugely effective attack, and then Alchemist can mix without using any of your current inventory, and she can pop up, like, a mega potion and then heal everybody for 2,000 HP. So it negates all that damage that they did to themselves. So you're just popping, like, constant huge damage on them, then heal. It's a great strategy.
Yeah.
That's how I got through the game.
Let's go through some release info first, and then we will dive into some of the other big mechanics of the game itself.
All right, let's do it.
So this game came out on March 13th, 2003 in Japan, and then November 18th, 2003 in the US and other regions.
Yep.
On PS3 and Vita, along with the FF10-2 remaster collection. December 26, 2013 in Japan, March 18th, 2014 in US, and March 21st, 2014 in other regions. And then on PS4 on May 12th, 2015 in America, May 14th, 2015 in Japan and Australia, and May 15th, 2015 in Europe. And then on Steam on May 12th, 2016.
Wow.
Plus, there was also the bonus Final Fantasy X-2 International and Last Mission Edition, which came out in Japan on February 9th, 2004. Europe had, like, a different version as well, which is why they have the international version, I believe, right?
I don't remember, but I know that the international edition was a big deal for me when I was a youngin', because they had the extra dress spheres that I really wanted. Had
Plus,
an extra mode, but I don't really care about that mode.
I mean, plus the box for Final Fantasy X-2 International Last Mission is just very nice. Like, it's got, like, this holographic look to it. It's got, like, some nice... The box art's real nice. The real strange thing about this version is that, obviously, because they say, like, oh, it's the international version, they just use the English voice acting, which is real weird.
They did.
So you have, like... So all the songs are in English, all the voice acting with Japanese subtitles. I'm going to look through this manual, because I have this version, obviously, because I'm a weirdo.
Actually, one of the funniest things about the international version, and also it's like this for the remasters, is that they had the English voice actors say some of the lines for the new dress spheres in Japanese.
Oh, huh.
And so every once in a while, for some reason, I don't know why it's in the remaster, but like, it makes sense in the international version, but in the remaster, when you're playing, like, with regular dubs, like, every once in a while they'll pop up those Japanese lines, and you're like, that's Tara Strong just saying a Japanese word. Okay.
Well, it makes sense because, like, they based the remasters off of the international version.
Right. Oh,
So,
I know. I just think it's
yeah.
That's a thing that they did.
I do like how in the booklet, like, there's a pop-out card that's like, here's the controls, and then, like, on the back, here's a bunch of status effects in case you want to, like, just have these by you at some point.
Pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. I would read you the hints, but it's all in Japanese, so I couldn't tell you.
Well,
Oh, and then also in the back there is an ad for Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, coming soon on Game Boy Advance, and then also Final Fantasy VII Advent Children coming soon on DVD.
nope. Nope, 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 nope. Pass. Hard pass.
It's nice packaging, like.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
That's one thing, like, that pretty much like drew me to buying that version, just because like I like this game a lot, so I was like, I'll buy the Japanese version. Like, I have a Japanese copy of Final Fantasy VIII, like, and I saw like the way like the box looked and everything. I was like, it'd be cool to have this version of the game, which is like the quote unquote definitive version, and it's like it's the version that was only released in Japan until they brought it out over here, so it's just real neat. Anyways, let's talk about one of the things I think is really, really smart about this game.
Okay.
It's a sequel.
Yep.
Set 2 years after the events of 10.
Yep.
When most video games have sequels and they're set around and like they have them in the same world, right?
Mm-hmm.
We both know this, but for people maybe who don't, a lot of times the sequel will basically be like, well, even though you've been to this entire world, we're going to lock you and gate you in terms of like how you progress through the game again and go through like this world yet again. And most of the time we'll relock your skills and everything, so you'll start at 1, which this game does obviously, but I think that's just the nature of the beast in terms of these types of video games. This game in particular basically is like, okay, we know you've been to all these places in the world. You have all those places opened up to you at the very beginning.
Yep, I like that a lot. And you have, so one of the things about this game is that you have the airship from the beginning, so you have the ability to select where you want to go. And that's especially effective for people who've played 10, because you're like, oh, hey, I really like this area in 10. I want to go see what's happening there. And then, like, it'll give you an update. Like, this is what's happened in the past 2 years in this area. And it's really, really effective. And it's great because then you're going through and you're getting these side quests. And it gives you a mission right off the bat, but you don't even have to do that. You can just go see what people are up to.
Yeah. It's such a smart idea.
Oh, it's super smart. And it's great because there's a bunch of callbacks and, you know, like I said, you're updating on what's happening, and it all counts towards a percentage, because to get the perfect ending, you have to get 100%, which is hard, by the way.
But also, like, for the quote-unquote good ending, it's like 80?
I think it's 80.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, it basically kind of lets you play the game however you want.
Yep, it does.
So like, if you want to, like, just, you know, go through all the missions right away and not necessarily go for the good ending, you can totally do that. If you want to go get the good ending, which it's fairly easy to do, you just have to pretty much, like, go to each place after each mission. You can do that. If you want to go for 100%, you can do that. Or you just want to go around and talk to everyone, chill out, see what all your pals from the previous game have been doing, see what this area looks like now, like what's the new hot drama happening.
Well, there's
a
lot.
Totally do that. There's a lot. It's just like, I wish more games would do that sort of thing, where like, instead of like, you know, hey, you played the first game, but now we're going to lock everything out for you for the second game, because just in case other people hadn't played it, this game's like, no, you should probably be able to go to everywhere. Like, that would make sense, right?
Like, for some weird plot reason, you can't do any of this, blah, 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 blah. And this one's like, yeah, no. Have fun, bro. Go explore.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, the way, like, they reintroduced the characters from 10.
Yeah.
And you get to see how they've progressed or how they're doing 2 years after the fact is really smart. And just, like, even though, like, they're not, like, main characters this time, just being able to, like, kind of, like, check in on them, help them out with some stuff, it's real, real good. Like, that's the type of fan service that is, like, very good to have.
Well, and even, like, minor characters. Like, you have the old summoners that Yuna would see on her path in 10. Like, you have Donna and her guardian, and then you have, like, the 3 brother guardians.
True, yeah.
Isaru or whatever. Like, you keep running into these guys, and you're like, oh, hey, I remember you. Like, you weren't that big of a story bit, but, like, you can meet up with them, and you can say hi. And then you have, like, these Chocobo Knights you can run into, and you're like, oh, hey, what are you up to? And, you know, a lot of times they'll ask you, like, do you remember me? And if you do remember them, then you're like, oh, yeah, I remember you. But if you don't, then they'll be like, oh, well, that's disappointing, but, like, there's what we did in the past. because they were minor characters for the most part in 10, but it's cool that you get to run into them and they didn't just like disappear.
Right. Even like if you picked no, like it would be understandable that Yuna, having met a bunch of people in
Right.
10 and probably in the 2 years since then, may be like, I kind of forgot, sorry.
Yeah, no, it
But it
makes.
is cool, yeah, you can be like, hey, yeah, I remember you. And like, and that they add like all those minor characters in.
Hmm. So it's not just like former party members that you
Yeah.
have. It's also just like the world feels a lot more alive
Right,
in
yeah.
these games because there's always something happening, and these people are like, even if they are minor characters, they're like, hey, let's talk, let's see what's going on, let's catch up, it's been a while. So it really does feel more of like an adventure with Yuna than it does feel like, oh, okay, this is like a predetermined quest of like, oh, I have to go from point A to point B and that's it.
Right, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's a lot more interactive in a way that it's personal because you can pick your journey on this and you can pick who you talk to and you can pick like if she remembers them, if you remember them. And I mean, there's a lot more freedom and opportunity here, which is an interesting theme throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they make Waka less racist.
they do. So that's good. Waka's a lot more likable in 10-2 than he ever was in 10.
Very much so. It's like, hey, him becoming a dad really mellowed him out and like made him rethink a lot of things.
Which is good. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
see how much he grew from 10 to 10-2. Like, it's wonderful, but he is way more likable in this game. I do lament the fact that Lulu didn't get a pregnant model.
Yeah, that's real weird that like she just shows up in her 10 outfit and just looks the exact same, even though like she's supposed to be like 9 months pregnant.
Yeah, and Riku's like, oh, you can't even tell. And like, she's still wearing a corset and she's pregnant.
She's still covered in belts.
She is. So I'm very sad that that happened, but I understand that like they're for the most part reusing assets.
Right, yeah.
I think the only ones that really weren't reused are Riku and Pain. Well, I mean the new characters that are a big deal, but like they do introduce a lot of new characters that you have to interact with, but for the most part, most assets are pretty reused, and that makes financial sense.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I would assume like the thing with Lulu would be like, oh, if we redid her model, we have to redo how she walks and everything, like how she animates, and that's going to take a lot more money to do than if we just like, we could just reuse her character model from the last game, and that would probably be okay.
Although, like, hearing all the drama about the belts, like, you'd think that it would have been something they'd want to do, like, oh, thank God we get to get rid of the belts.
True, yeah. They just kept them all. Maybe she just really likes belts.
Maybe. I
She's just really into them.
Makes sense.
I feel like if there was ever a game that was a predecessor to Tokyo Mirage Sessions, it's this game.
That makes sense.
Because it's obviously an RPG, but also rooted in like J-pop.
It has a lot of J-pop elements in it, and I love that. When you boot it up and you have Real Emotion play, whether it's the Japanese version or the English version, it doesn't matter. They're both wonderful versions of the song.
Mm-hmm.
At first you're kind of like, what is happening?
It's a big tonal shift, especially from like, 10's very serious. Like
10 is very serious.
There's not like a lot of room for like, hijinks or anything like that. I mean, they do have like sort of stuff, but like as soon as you boot up 10-2, it's like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, it's very different. And a lot of people, this is their sticking point of why they don't like 10-2. Which is weird in my opinion, because a lot of people who like Final Fantasy are also into J-pop.
Right.
So I don't really understand why there's such a, I mean, I know why, but there's such a disconnect between like, oh, hey, I'm a big fan of J-pop and I'm a big fan of all these Japanese artists and I'm obsessed with Simple and Clean and da 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 da. But then you put this game and they're like, oh no, that's ridiculous. That's so dumb. Why would they do that? And like, are you the same person?
Especially it's like they didn't even like watch past that video. It's like Because like that, the person performing isn't even Yuna.
It's not Yuna, and like it makes it very clear at the beginning it's not Yuna because it does like name placards for each character when it introduces them, and like you have Riku and you have Pain, and it shows them, and then it shows Yuna, and it even has a giant question mark by her name, which is a good touch, by the way.
Right.
Because then when you do eventually get the real Yuna introduction placard, like it shows that it's her.
Yeah.
But people are like, oh, Yuna was such a serious character in this, and I don't understand, she should be like mourning the fact that Tidus is gone, and instead she's a J-pop star. And it's like,
it's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. It's not her. And 3, like, that's the point of this, is that Yuna had so much high expectations for her and like what people thought she should be, but it's not who she wants to be.
And this is the first time she's basically been ever able to like do what she wants to do.
Right. And so that's one thing that really irritates me about this is people are like, oh, okay. For one, I want to say that it's really, really annoying and also very, very sexist. When people are like, oh, now they're dressed like and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, because no, and I don't think you know what that word means. And I don't know, it's interesting to me because yes, they are less clothed than they were in 10, but I feel like it's not like in an overtly sexual way.
No, I mean, like, also, like, if you look at the idol industry, like, that would be common stuff that, like, idols would wear.
Right.
So, like, it's not that far off.
It's not. And, I mean, obviously Pain is a little bit of an outlier there, but...
Yeah.
I don't know, I just don't think that they understand that that's not what they are. I know that that's a terrible way of wording this, but these outfits are not done in the same way of, say, like Ivy from Soul Calibur or something.
Yeah, 100%.
It's less of a overt male gaze sexuality that's being displayed in this game, and I think that's part of the offense that comes in, is that they're like, oh, this previously conservative, essentially shrine maiden type character who we all love because she's like demure and subservient and all that, which is not necessarily true either, but she opens up and decides to be her own person, and yeah, she puts on hot pants. Big deal. I don't know.
Like, she's like, what, 17 and 10?
She's 17 and 10 and 19 and 10 too. Like,
she's still real young. Like, she's gonna do what, like, the fact that like she had such a huge tonal shift in 10 to 10-2 in the terms of like everything that happened to her.
Yeah.
Like, of course she's gonna like pretty much like be able to, when she's able to do whatever she wants, she's gonna like, pick things that may not seem like it's her or anything like that, but she's still young. Like, she's gonna make some like maybe some weird choices to some people, but like, let her do whatever she wants.
Well, and again, like, she had so many expectations put on what she wants to be, that at this point she's like, this is who I'm going to be, as opposed to who you want me to be. And that's a big theme throughout this, is that she's doing what she wants to do as opposed to what everybody else wants her to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they very much missed that point.
Well, probably because they didn't play past like the tutorial.
The tutorial, yeah. That's true. It makes sense.
It's extremely hypocritical that you'll see a lot of Final Fantasy fans be like, man, I love Final Fantasy VI, but also trash this game.
Right. Or one thing that I found interesting is that people are talking about Sydney from 15 and how she's like this great character, and that despite the outfit, there's a lot more depth to her and everything. But then Yuna in 10-2 doesn't get the same kind of treatment. Especially when
the character in 15 was probably like 95% created just for the male gaze.
It's 1,000% for male gaze.
If that scrapped VR thing is anything to go by.
Yeah, and again, like, there's a very huge difference in telling a character design on whether it is a sexy outfit versus a sexualized outfit.
Right.
And there's a lot of that difference in this game that people were offended by, but they just chalk it up to like, oh, this character that I really liked in 10 has become a and I'm like, that's no, that this game is not about sex at all.
I mean, if you want to get mad about the character designs, yell at Nomura.
I don't think he did them, did he?
He did.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this wiki has him credited as character designer, so.
Okay. So these might be some of the only ones that I'm like, wow, I'm really into this. Good job, man.
He did the artwork for the International Last Mission soundtrack cover.
Oh,
if you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So at least he's familiar with those character designs in some way.
One thing that I do dislike about the character design, Riku in particular, and it's not because it's like sexualized, it's just impractical, is like she has her bikini strings like up over her like love handle area.
Right.
And I'm like, ooh, that would be the worst wedgie in the world.
that whole like just design is like very early 2000s.
Oh, it's super early 2000s because that was a trendy thing to do at that point.
Right.
Very uncomfortable. I also want to mention though that one thing that I very much appreciate about this game is that they do have the 3 main outfits, but each job class dress sphere has a very different personality depending on who's wearing it.
Right, like that's a thing even unto itself, where it's like that's a lot of work to do for character design. And the fact that they didn't just like streamline each different job into like, oh, they all wear the same thing, because that would be the easy way to do it. Like each of them they bring out their own personality to what that job would be for them.
I think that's so clever because it's very distinctly Yuna, Riku, or Pain.
Yeah.
You have Yuna in her songstress dress sphere, and it's like the blue and black, and it's feminine in a way, and it's really cute. And then you have Riku, who's orange and purple, and she's got more like elaborate design on her sleeves, and again, very, very Riku. Then you have Pain, and she kind of looks like I'd say Freddie Mercury inspired, maybe David Bowie. And that makes sense because she's more of like a tomboy type character. And, I can't see her wearing a super girly skirt. So they gave her pants. And like that, it makes sense. And each character has very, very distinctive personality throughout their outfits. I love, love, love that.
And Pain's also like she's wearing like all dark colors, like a lot of it's black, and also like that just goes with like how her character is. Like she's sort of like the brooding type, especially early on, because like she's like, I'm not really going to talk about my past or anything.
One thing also worth mentioning is that depending on what dress sphere they have, sometimes the characters will have like callbacks and weaponry.
Yeah.
To the Final Fantasy X. So like Yuna, when she's in her warrior outfit, has Brotherhood, which is Tidus's like default sword,
like the watery looking sword.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like Riku at one point has one of Auron's swords. So that's so cool. Like it's a really nice like Easter egg callback to the last game that they will have those, and it shows that those characters did mean a lot to them because that's how their dress sphere shows up.
Yeah. 100%.
It's fascinating, and all those outfits are extremely cute, and I love that. It's literally like magical girl Final Fantasy.
100%. Yeah, that is exactly right. Like, I mean, they don't necessarily have like huge transformation scenes, but like, yeah, it pretty much is like this is a magical girl game.
But they do have transformation scenes depending on what you're doing.
I mean, like not like super elaborate.
No, I mean,
yeah.
Like it's like 15 seconds maybe, but it's still really, really cool. Like they have like a weapon drop, and then it shows like a shortcut scene, and they transform into the outfit. It's very, very magical girl inspired.
Right. I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
All right.
Better song. Real Emotion or 1,000 Words?
Real Emotion.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I might disagree with you on that, but I think like that's just a manner of semantics there. They're both
Um,
very good.
they're both very, really good. And also, worth pointing out that in my opinion, the English version of A Thousand Words is way better than the Japanese version.
Yeah, those are like both those versions in English are very, very good.
Really good. I was surprised that they would translate it entirely and get a new different singer. Especially because Komikuta actually recorded English versions. So, but they got Jade from Sweetbox to do the English versions, and she did a fantastic job. But the English version of A Thousand Words has this wonderful, wonderful scene where they're harmonizing, and it's perfection. And that doesn't exist in the Japanese version.
Like that entire scene is actually, I think, really, really cool. Because like it also kind of like it goes against like the entire like aesthetic that like, oh, Yuna's just a J-pop star now. It's like, no, if you really look at it, like, and her, if this was like representative of like how she would sing and perform and everything, it's like it's more like real like soft, slow ballad type songs instead of like poppy J-pop stuff like that. And it's also like it's real silly. It's like, oh, we're in the what's the place that they're in when they perform? The place like all the lightning and
they're the Thunder Plains.
The Thunder Plains. I thought that was the name, but I couldn't remember. It's like, everyone come to the Thunder Plains. Yuna's gonna perform a song, and everyone just like runs out. It's like, all right, and then she performs this like awesome song.
Yuna is an extreme unifying power to Spirit of Steel.
Yeah.
Still, after 2 years, like Yuna is one thing that they can agree on.
Because there's a lot of internal strife within like like with a lot of like the places there. Like there's just like there's these two groups that are kind of feuding, and you know, just like, I'm not really gonna get involved, but like I need to unify everything. Help.
Yeah, I mean, because Yevon fell apart at the end of 10, and when you have an entire country that's based on a religion and it falls apart entirely, like there's gonna be some factions and some tension.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that I really, really like about this game is that there's so much like political intrigue and issues with like the falling apart of the religion and who's gonna be the new leader and all. I mean, it's fascinating how they pull it all together, but it's always Yuna who's expected to save it.
And plus, it's not something like you would expect to see in this game, like all that sort of political intrigue and like these battles between, oh, we should keep the religion or not, and all that sort of stuff.
It's super cool that they even tried to pull that off, and in my opinion, they did pull it off. But I'm saying that you wouldn't expect that from a game that like you see the cover and you're like, oh, it's a bunch of girls and they're gonna do J-pop and all, and that in and of itself is very dismissive.
Right.
Just because it's a bunch of girls as your protagonist doesn't mean that it's not going to be a super in-depth and interesting game.
Which I think like nowadays, obviously, like that's totally like we would expect, like, oh, if there's girls on the cover, like we're not going to be like, oh, it's just, we're going to dismiss it just because like, oh, it's girls on the cover, it's going to be shallow and everything. Like nowadays, yeah, we expect like, hey, it's pretty much going to be the same type of story writing that any other game might have. In 2003, though, like that was still kind of uncharted territory.
But has it really changed all that much? Because people still think that 10-2 is like the death of Final Fantasy.
I mean, you are 100% correct. I feel like, though, perhaps expectations have changed currently than they were in 2003. But I'm not saying, like, oh, that those people are right, that they dismiss this game because, like, they thought, oh, it's girls, it's shallow, it's all this dumb bullshit. So I just feel like we've kind of gotten better in terms of, like, overall games, per se.
I don't know.
But there's still going to be those assholes who dismiss anything. Like, you look back a few years ago and look how many people dismissed Gone Home.
Yeah.
Which is like, if you've never played Gone Home, it's like the story of a girl coming back home after a few years being away and learning about like what her sister has been going through and like how she's kind of come around to being like a lesbian and all that sort of stuff. And everyone's like, oh, it's a walking simulator. It's pushing LGBTQ things onto us. Like, we can't have that. So, I mean, there's always like going to be detractors, I think, in terms of like anything that's not, you know, huge dudes beating stuff up.
Games that can be easily marketed towards women or are overtly marketed towards women are dismissed a lot by the gaming community, period.
Yeah.
This went through it, Gone Home went through it. Actually, Life is Strange went through it to an extent.
Yeah, you were 100% right.
Any game that can be seen as feminine in any way is dismissed, unfortunately, even if it is a wonderful game, which is the case with 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying, but it's the case.
Games are bad.
Gamers are bad.
Gamers are bad.
Gamers are very, very bad.
Capital G gamers are bad.
Yeah. And I think one issue that people run into with 10-2 is that they tried it when they were, a young teenager or whatever, and then just dismissed it because it wasn't for them, and then never went back to it ever.
Yeah.
And I do understand that, a vast majority of people who, and I don't even know that this is necessarily the case, but a vast majority of people who play this, like, Final Fantasy types of games tend to be, like, dudes. And I don't know that that's always the case, because I think Final Fantasy does have a giant fan base that are women.
Yeah.
But they just get very, very upset when there's not a game that's, like, directly marketed at them. But that's the case with any kind of genre, any kind of title. If it's not marketed at your regular dude, like, oh no, this is the worst game ever, da 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
It's very ridiculous that, like, hypothetical number here, like 85% of games are marketed to, like, straight white dudes.
Yes.
And then, like, anytime, like, that, like, a game goes against the norm, like this, like a Gone Home, like a Life is Strange, probably a bunch of other games that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, they'll be like, oh, we don't want this inclusivity in games. We want games marketed to us. Like, why are they not marketing things to us? And it's like, like, you get all the games marketed to you. Look at, like, the trend of games from, like, 2012 to 2015, where it was like a bunch of the big AAA games was like, here's this depressing looking brown haired white dude on the cover trying to sell you on his game where he's going to shoot some stuff and not feel bad about killing a bunch of people.
And I guess I want to talk a little bit about my own feelings about this, which I did write a piece on my blog about Final Fantasy X-2 and my feelings on it. But I did go through I'm going to call it my dark period, where I realized when I was in college and undergrad that people didn't like this game. So I felt like I had to put it in my head and tell other people that I didn't like this game either. And I kind of became like the same parrot of like, oh, it's too girly, it's not a good game, I can't believe there's J-pop, da 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 da. And that's not how I feel about this game. And I lament that I went through those years of talking about Final Fantasy X-2 because it doesn't deserve it, and it is one of the best games that the series has produced. And because it did mean so much to me as a teenage girl who was really into video games, because here was a game that I felt like I could really attach myself to and I could have fun with. And it is overtly girly, which is not necessarily a bad thing because, as a woman who plays games, I'm used to playing games that are overtly masculine. And that doesn't necessarily make it a bad game automatically. So, but there is a stigma attached to anything that's overtly feminine as bad. And that even comes to, there's a lot of gender theory on that. But if you think about most of the negative terms that are used against men, what do they have in common? They're usually feminized. So, I know this is kind of a lot of gender talk, but it's important that, as somebody who was a teenage girl who was attached to this game and really, really needed these three characters who had a ton of personality, but were also, like, they were awesome, they were badass, but they were not afraid to be women. I needed that. And so I've come a long way in appreciating this game again and replaying it when I had the HD version. I was like, yeah, okay. I 10-2 is still A plus phenomenal, and I will now forever be on Defense Squad. And you can read that piece on my blog, but it's essentially what I just said.
It's very good though. You should definitely check it out. And I think like even like what you were talking about is something that kind of happens to all of us at some point where like we unfortunately like get surrounded by some sort of hive mind mentality, whether it's like, oh, for your case, Final Fantasy 2 10-2's bad, and then you're like, well, I guess everyone else is saying it, so I kind of become enculturated in thinking that as well. So like it's something I guess like I think that happens kind of to all of us at some point. Like I've fell victim to it, probably a bunch of other people have fallen victim to it, but like you said, like eventually I think you will come to realization that like, maybe that's like not exactly what I truly do think. Maybe what I thought originally was right, and like this game is really good, and I should be supportive of this game, supportive of like how the fact that it shows femininity in a different light than what games were doing in 2003 or like any time around that period. And you just become more of a supporter of that game than what you had been, maybe a year or two before when everyone was like hounding you or like you just were surrounded by all these negative thoughts about that thing.
Well, and it also didn't help that I worked in a game retailer for several years. And so it was very much cool to dump on this game, even
Right.
though it had come out in 2003. And if you look online on the Final Fantasy rhetoric, it's always like Final Fantasy X was the last good game, 10-2 was the beginning of the downfall. And, that's kind of the trendy, cool.
They're completely wrong because it's the opposite.
No, well,
Sorry.
no, it's cool. And I would argue that it came after that, but I would say that 10-2 was the last good one that they made. But
10-2 and 14.
oh, well, I didn't play 14. I don't really count the online games, unfortunately.
I will count it just because, hey, it's literally one of the only good numbered games that they've made in the last 10 years. So.
Okay, yeah. But I even I bought merchandise for this game when I was younger. I have like a Riku keychain from 10-2. I have the figurines that came out. And I had somebody hand make me a little plush of Riku. Like this was a thing that I really, really, really loved, and I really regret that I've ever said that this was a bad game, because it's not, and it
Right.
never will be a bad game to me ever again, because it just is super, super important, not only for Final Fantasy, but as a whole in terms of gaming. And I don't think it gets nearly enough credit.
Yeah. Should we talk about the story at all?
Oh, whoops. I guess we should talk about the story a little bit.
We're like almost an hour in, we haven't talked about the story.
Yeah. So I guess it starts, you get the little side story that was in the international version first, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. Anyway.
I don't either, so I'll take your word for it.
There's a very short side story that you get, and they have it in the remastered version as well, that has Yuna, and she's talking about how long she can hold her breath for now, and she's been training, and it shows her and Waka and Riku, and you find out at that point that Waka is gonna be a dad, and Riku is making fun of him because he's supposedly getting pudgy in his I guess comfort at this point. And I think that's what they're trying to show, is that there's a little bit more of a calm. I mean, it's literally called the calm, but there's kind of relaxation there. Like he's going to be a dad. They're joking around. He's gained weight because he's happy. There's not that constant fear of apocalypse coming on. And Yuna is still obviously upset that Tidus is gone, which is why she's showing like, oh, I can hold my breath now. And you see her like whistling, trying to get him to come back. And then there's a sphere that they find, and they've edited it since, but the original version had a character model who looked exactly like Tidus, and he was in a prison, and it's very, very fuzzy. And Yuna's like, oh, who is this? I
So
have to
the
find him.
so did they like basically for like the international version and then all subsequent versions replace that character model?
What happened was the very first version of this they released had the Tidus character model,
Hmm.
and then any subsequent version they released, they have the what's his name?
Where's my list of characters? Shuyin.
Shuyin. So they have the Shuyin colors on the model.
Right. Okay.
So you can tell that it's not him, but so there's always her line of like, I found this sphere that looks like you. And so that's essentially like the starting point of her quest, is that they become sphere hunters because Riku found this sphere that she sees him and she thinks there's hope that Tidus is still alive.
Hmm.
So they form the Gull Wings, and the Gull Wings are Riku, Yuna, and Pain. And
Don't talk about the Riki Yuna ship name.
I know. YRP and
Yerp.
Yerp. They're kind of like a Charlie's Angels-esque group at that point. You have Brother, who is Riku's brother, creative name, who is essentially their pilot. You have Shinra, which, clever callback, who is basically your genius kid on board. And also he is the weird tie-in that supposedly 10 and 7 are in the same universe.
That's the craziest thing.
I know, it's been confirmed that is real, and I think it's dumb.
I remember like you told me like you're like, hey, you should do this side mission, and I did that, and they're like, and they can like they basically talk about that, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yep, Shinra is essentially the one who came up with the idea of harnessing like the life energy, which essentially becomes like Mako and Final Fantasy VII. So
That's so dumb, but also it's like, I don't know, sure.
yep. So Shinra.
Why not tie both of our like popular games together?
Why not? Why the heck not? And then there's Buddy, who is like your navigator essentially. And then you have Barkeep, because why not have Barkeep? His name is literally Barkeep. And they have their airship, which was the Celsius that's been rescued from 10. And
It's now the Fahrenheit.
it's now the Fahrenheit. Clever. And all they do is, I say all they do, but the goal of the Gull Wings is to go around and find spheres so that they can see if there's any more hints about Tidus. They also make money by doing this. So that's, I guess, the background story of what's happening. And you start the game, as we've said, with Yuna ? Doing this giant J-pop stage for all of Spira and the old Blitzball Dome. And Luca, is that the name of the place? I think it's Luca.
Sure.
Anyway, it's the old Blitzball Dome. She's doing their concert, and it's like this beautiful CGI movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's so gorgeous, and something's going down because like Riku's fighting with some guards and Pain's fighting with some guards. You're like, what is happening right now? And honestly, one of the greatest things in this game is you have like a silhouette of Riku when you start it, and then you see her like hit a microphone type thing, and it's like YRP in position, it's Showtime Girls, and then it like starts up. You're like, oh shit, things are going down. I like this scene a whole lot.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a lot of fun. You see Yuna ? In her old summoner outfit, and then she ends up like, it's so beautiful how it's done. And I don't know how it really works, but it comes up into ribbons around her old outfit, and then it comes into her songstress dress sphere outfit. And it turns out that it's actually not Yuna, which we knew. And that's where you get your introduction to the battle system, which is Foon. Because
Foon.
Foon, they get to go fight LeBlanc, who is the one who has stolen Yuna's garment grid.
Yeah.
And then once you actually get back and get the garment grid back from her, you see Yuna, and she does this like sweet backflip with her guns, the tiny bee guns, and they do this crazy like Charlie's Angels pose, and I'm like, I am so into this game, like 1,000% sold. Like, what a good introduction to this game.
It's very good.
It's beautiful. So that's the beginning of the story. And there's a lot of like side story bits in there, like we were saying earlier. There's a ton of side quests in this.
Yeah.
A ton.
Which you basically have to do if you want to get the good ending.
Yes. So you get to catch up with old characters like Kamari's trying to lead the Ronzo. And you have these Ronzo children who are upset because Kamari doesn't have his horn. So they go on a quest to go find Kamari's horn.
And also, isn't there like another dude, like another, like one of them in there as well that's like, you're not being like angry enough. We need like to go fight stuff.
They feel like he's too soft.
Yeah.
And so there's that conflict. Then you have Waka and Lulu, who, as we've mentioned, they're having a baby. And Waka is having issues, and he doesn't know how to be a dad because he never had like parent presence. And so he's trying to find spheres of his parents so he can understand how to be a dad. All the temples are closed because the religion's dead. There are different factions, as we mentioned. There's was it the
Youth League and the New Yevon.
New Yevon and Youth League. And then there's also the Machine faction, which is run by Gipple, who is the most beautiful man in this game. So there's the three new guys are Gipple, Baralai, and Nuge.
Mm-hmm.
And they all, they know each other. You don't know how they know each other. And they all know pain.
So like there's some backstory between all four of them.
You just
at first you're like, well, this is strange, but then eventually like it gets shown, I think, like in its entirety. Like there's a those are all side quests, I think, to like get like that entire like
the
sphere.
Crimson Sphere side quest.
Yeah.
To get the entire story behind them, you have to do the Crimson Sphere side quest, but you get enough throughout the game if you don't finish that to know.
Where you understand what's happened.
But you know that they know each other. You don't know how, and there's all kinds of conflict through Spira because everybody's trying to split between these factions. They want Yuna to back one of the factions because if Yuna gets behind them, then they essentially won.
Right.
And Gipple is just doing his own thing. He's in the desert getting materials because of course he is.
As you do.
Yeah. So Gipple's not really honestly a player in the conflict, but he tries to be, I guess. And
he's kind of there by association.
Yeah, and then as we mentioned, there's LeBlanc, who has the LeBlanc Syndicate. I can't talk today. LeBlanc Syndicate, who is the rival sphere hunting group.
Eventually, like at first, like they're kind of like, oh, this is your enemies that you're gonna bump up against quite a few times. But then later on throughout the game, like they're just kind of like the goofy trio that you run into every now and then, and then eventually, like, oh, here they're gonna help you out, like near the end game and all that sort of stuff to like help you get where you need to go.
Yeah. So originally, like they're kind of your big bads, and then as you said, they kind of shift into more of a comic relief role, and then they help you. Because there's a lot more at hand than just the LeBlanc Syndicate and spear hunting. It kind of comes across as like lighthearted at first. It's more of a, this is a race to get the most stuff, and then it gets real deep real quick.
Yeah.
And it becomes way more than just Yuna's quest to figure out what happened to Titus. It's essentially Yuna standing on her own feet and realizing like who she is and what she needs to be for everybody else, because there's so many expectations on her and what people want from her, and that doesn't necessarily align with what she wants. And she ends up being able to really speak for herself and stand up for herself, and it's really a great thing to see Yuna just like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah.
She grows a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's a lot of like character development throughout this entire game. Not just with Yuna, but like with pretty much like any of the characters you'd seen previously in 10, and like the main characters as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean everybody, even the smallest of side characters, gets a ton of character growth, and it's
True.
really
Yeah.
well done. And as we mentioned before, a lot of the 10 characters are way more likable in 10-2 than they ever were in 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kamari himself gets so much more character development in 10-2 than they ever hoped to make in 10. And he's so likable in 10-2.
Yeah.
Because you see more of who he is and him as a leader and what he thinks and like his opinions on stuff. Whereas in 10, he was just like, oh, I'm the bodyguard, and you get one battle with him that's important. And like, he's a really, really interesting character.
Yeah, totally.
So, I don't know, 10 did a lot of disservice to these characters, whereas 10-2 is like, you know what, we're just going to flesh all these guys out. Why not?
Another reason why I like this game more than 10.
Yep. So then I know Vegna Gun becomes a big problem for everybody. There's this question of like this super weapon that's under Bavel Underground.
Yeah. But like also I think while this is all going on, Yuna's obviously trying to get over to like, or trying to cope with the fact, that Titus is gone.
Mm-hmm.
But she also kind of like somehow mixes herself in with like 1,000-year-old love story.
She does. Yep. Whoops.
Which is like that's it's a weird thing. Like, I think in terms of the plot, like it's strange, but like it works as well, because like here's these two people that look like Yuna and Titus, but eventually you find out, oh, they existed 1,000 years ago
in the actual Xanarkand.
Yeah.
So it's Lin and Shuyin, and Lin is the essential soul of the songstress dress sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So the outfit that Yuna wears is actually Lin's outfit, and a lot of the feelings, every once in a while Yuna will talk about the feelings that she feels when she's wearing that dress sphere, and it turns out that those are Lin's feelings that she's feeling. And she mistakes Shuyin a lot for Titus. And one of my favorite moments of Yuna is when you see her like extremely jealous, because she's like, who the heck is Lin? Because she thinks that Titus is like all about this girl now and not her, and it's really cute. So yeah, not only does she get entangled in this 1,000-year romance and like what ends up happening to Shuyin and Lin, but like I said, there's this giant super weapon that's under the Bavel Underground, and who's going to control this weapon. And it seems to an extent that it's going to be Baralai for a while, because Bavel is the
where it's at,
home of New Yevon, and he's the new maester of New Yevon. So they all meaning Gipple, Nuge, and Baralai go to the Bavel Underground, and a lot of really intense stuff goes down, including possessions.
Yeah, because that's a thing too.
Yeah. So the ghost can possess people. And by the ghost, I mean Shuyin, because Shuyin is a very angry ghost.
He's very upset.
He is, because he thinks that him and Lin were killed, which, I mean, they were, but he never got closure on it.
Right.
So he's a very pissed off ghost, and he possesses people and makes them very angry. And Vegna gun apparently is an actual like alive weapon.
Which
So
they basically made to fight Sin at some point, but then they're like, no, we aren't going to use this.
yeah, so they lock it underground, but it can flee if it feels danger. And one of the most intense emotional experiences of this game is because of Vegnagun, the far plane is reopened essentially, which
Mhm.
is where like all the dead live, and you get the undead like far plane versions of Yuna's old summons
Right.
from 10 that you have to fight, and like you can hear her like verbally begging with them like, please don't do this, this isn't you, like while they're fighting them, and it hurts. It's so emotional because these were essentially parts of her throughout the entire part of 10. Like they were her battle system, her protectors, and now she's having to kill them again after she lost them the first time.
Yuna has to deal with a lot of loss in this
she,
game.
she does, and that's one thing that I told you, because we had played Shadow Hearts before this.
True, yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to make you play games about loss in very different ways. And this entire game is about loss and how you handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Because you have Yuna and her loss. You have Spira and their loss of like everything that they know. You have Shuyan and his loss. You have Lin and her loss. Like the entire game is about loss and how you handle it. Obviously, some people handle it better than others.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know. How far into spoiler territory do you want me to go here?
I mean, we can do whatever we want.
That's true. It is like
It's not like we've never spoiled games before.
it's true, and it's an old game. So it turns out that the Nuge, Barreleye, Gipple, and Payne were all on the Crimson Squad. So they were like an elite military force together. Payne was their videographer, if you will.
Hence the
And
Crimson Spheres.
Crimson Spheres, which she was showing what was happening. And essentially, they were a team that were designed to take on Sin. And I forget exactly the details on how, but they went into the Den of Woe, which is a bad thing to do in the first place. Like, if there's a place called Den of Woe, I'm not going anywhere near it.
Just don't go there.
Yeah, and so there's the feeling of loss in there, and that's where Shuyan is very, very strong. And so Shuyan possesses all of them, and they shoot each other. They don't die, but they shoot each other. And I think, is it Nuge that he comes out with? One of them he continues to possess, and then they leave, and like he sticks around with one of the characters. I think it's Nuge, and then he pops to Barreleye later.
I think that's I think that's right.
That's how I remember it, but it could be wrong. But anyway, he possesses one of them, and then that's how he essentially escapes into the world and starts his chaotic plan. And so they all think that they betrayed each other, whereas what actually happened is they were possessed. So there's always this like question of who are they, what are they doing, that kind of thing. You know, they know each other, but none of them trust each other. That's why. Also, there's this weird like side bit of how like LeBlanc and Nuge are dating, but it seems more one-sided.
Yeah, I think it's more like LeBlanc like is
In love with Nuge.
yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. So Shuyan essentially gets the bright idea that he's going to use Vegnagun to destroy the world, so he can essentially be with Lin.
You know, as most villains do, like, hey, there's a big weapon, I could destroy the world.
Yeah.
No one's ever had this idea before.
And there's this one scene where Yuna falls into the far plane, and she's mistaken by Shuyan to be Lin because she's wearing her songstress outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like hugging her and telling her like what his ideas were. and she's kind of panicking. And then after he disappears, you're like stuck on there. And one of the triggers for getting the good ending is you have to mash down like the X button,
Oh,
and
right.
she just starts whistling like crazy. And then you hear one whistle back, and you're like, "Whoa, what was that about?"
Just a random whistle.
Yeah. And so after that, Nuge, Barely, Gipple, they all disappear because they're trying to deal with Vegnagun. And Spira just falls into absolute and utter chaos because they don't know what to do without their leaders. And so they're all fighting each other, and just nonsense is happening, which is when they do the Thunder Plains concert.
Mm-hmm.
To try and unite everybody. And that's when you really see what happened, because Lynn essentially overtakes the big projection screen and shows what happened.
Yeah.
Which is when you get that great scene of them both singing. And then Yuna's like, oh, now I know what happened. I understand why things are so rough, because Lynn died and was basically saying that she was in love with him, but he never heard it. He didn't know that. So he's angry, and she died peacefully. And I guess it should be mentioned that since this was Xanarkand 1,000 years ago, this was when the first war was occurring. And since Lynn was a summoner, she was going to be sent to the front lines, which was why Shuyin was trying to get her out anyway, was because he was trying to save her life.
Yeah.
Side note. And then you get the whole plan of like, well, what are we going to do? And Nuge is talking about like basically a suicide mission. And Yuna has her wonderful, wonderful moment where she's like, your plan sucks. Like, literally, that's what she says. She's like, I don't like it. I don't like your plan. And Yuna just stands up. She's like, no, we're not doing it. That's not what we're doing. And they concoct a plan to work together and stop Vegnagun. They're successful. And Lynn is able to separate from Yuna in the Songstress sphere and basically explain to Shuyin that she loved him, and she placates him, and basically is like, hey, it's okay. And then they get to be together and do whatever ghostly things they do. They disappear. So he gets his closure. And then depending on what ending you get, Yuna gets her closure.
So you should get the good ending.
Well, if you get the normal ending, then it shows that the three leaders have united and they're under a new Spira, and they lament that Yuna couldn't be there, but it shows her on top of the new airship, and she is basically like wind in her hair and free, and she's like, this is my story and I'll make it a good one, which again is a callback to 10. And that's the normal ending. The good ending is after you've gotten a certain percentage and you have that whistle moment, you get a cutscene afterwards where you see Titus basically at how he was at the end of 10, where he's like curled up in a ball underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And then he breaks up out of the water, and you see that he's actually back at Besaid. And you're like, whoa, what's happening? And you see the airship. Yuna somehow doesn't break her legs and jumps off of it and goes running at him. And they have the really cute moment of like, are you real? I think so. And Waka ends up yelling like, get a room, you two, from the beach. And so she gets him back, is essentially what happens. Is he's there, he's real. She gets her happy ending. Finally, you can see Waka's baby, which is a super cute baby with a little pom-pom on his head. And so that's that one. And honestly, I like this ending way better than I like the perfect ending.
I don't even remember what the perfect ending like
The, per-
it includes.
the perfect ending is not even CGI. It's just an in-game cutscene in Xanarkin. And it's a little bit more explanation of like that the Faith has continued the dream, and she's like, are you going to disappear at any point? And he doesn't know. And so she like pushes him off a cliff, and like he's still there. And then you see her standing up on the edge of Xanarkin ruins, like you do again, call back to the beginning of 10 when you see Tita standing up there.
Mm-hmm.
So like the only part of that, I guess, is that you do get somewhat of an explanation, but it's not really satisfying. And also like it is kind of funny to see her just like throw him off a dang cliff.
My old man brought me back here, and I was like, whoa, man. My old man put me on the beach.
So I think the good ending would have been a better way to just end it, but
yeah.
Also the perfect ending is extremely hard to get because every little action in the game is like a tiny percentage of completion.
So you literally have to be perfect.
You have to be perfect. And there's a new game plus, so that makes it a little bit easier, but it's still super duper hard to get. I've only got it once. So it's worth just getting the good ending, and then if you want to see the perfect ending, go see it on YouTube. Don't kill yourself for it.
Unless you want to get the trophy for it.
Not worth it. So I was glad that in the normal ending and the good ending, Yuna, either way, whether he's back or not, she gets a good conclusion to her story.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying. And I guess that's really it in terms of like the main story of the game. Like I said, there's a ton of side stuff. I was a big fan when I was a younger and Ladyem of the, I mean, it hasn't really gone away, but there's not a whole lot of content on it, of Gipple and Riku together, because there was a very large hint that they dated.
That part of you definitely has not changed.
No, it hasn't changed at all. I still love those two, and I still love Riku with every bit of my being. So yeah, it's a good story. It's a little convoluted at points, and it doesn't always make sense. But you know, it's a love story that Yuna is somewhat involved with, but it also is, you know, a lot of political intrigue and a lot of religious intrigue, and you get to see everybody just grow a lot from this story, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Do you, or would you ever want them to come back and make a sequel to this?
Have you heard about the novel that they wrote?
Barring 10.2.5.
Yeah.
Because that's a train wreck.
That's a mistake. I think that the only way that I would really want them to do a third one is if it started Riku. I think there's still a lot you could do with her, but I think like the Tidus Yuna journey is done.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like they would be playable characters. I wouldn't want them to be playable characters. But I honestly feel like I'm completely satisfied with where it is. I don't need another game. And I'm afraid that if I did get another game by current Square,
it wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be good. So, I mean, I'm fine with what it is. And especially since I've seen what 2.5 was like, I'm just terrified of what they might do.
You know what's bad when that thing was only released in Japan and everyone in Japan was like, this is trash.
Everybody hated it because it's so terrible. I mean, it's garbage. And it's like, they couldn't just leave well enough alone, because Yuna and Tidus get back together. They're happy. Just leave it. You don't have to make like exploding heads. And you think I'm joking, guys, but I'm not joking.
No, that's completely in there.
Heads.
God.
Just leave well enough alone. We don't need it. And there was like the audio drama that they put on the
remaster. Yeah.
And even then, like, I'm not interested in what they were trying to sell me on there. It didn't really make sense. It wasn't that interesting. Actually, you know what? If they did a continuation, what they should do is the origin story and have like Yuna's dad and Jet and Orin and do their pilgrimage. I mean, we know how it ends, but that would be fascinating. I'd play that.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Oh man, can you imagine if they had dress spheres? But I mean, it could be like a 3-party game like this with the same kind of battle system without the dress spheres. But
yeah,
because we got peeks into it, and you know they're very different types of characters. I think it'd be fun, but that I would do that. But that's meh.
it's better than 10.2.5. Anything's better than that.
Anything is better, but you know, in the same sense of how they did Crisis Core, we knew how Crisis Core was going to end, but getting to the point of that was very satisfying.
Or like any prequel.
Yeah. Like even when you know that the main characters are going to die, like getting to that point makes it a little bit more impactful sometimes. So I'd play that, but you might not want to deal with more Jet.
I mean, it's not Titus, so it won't be Jet being like, "Man, my old man." Oh wait, that's me.
See, I was gonna say that I'm very much on the Titus Defense Squad, but there's a lot more to that, and we can't discuss it on the 10-2 podcast. But anyway, yeah, I love this game.
It's a very good game.
It's a really, really good game, and I'm sorry that I ever said it was a bad game, and I was wrong because it's not a bad game. It's literally one of the best Final Fantasies.
Do you think it would be at all possible for someone to play this without playing 10?
I think it's possible, but I don't think you would get as much out of it.
Right.
I think it would be like fun because of the mechanics, but I don't think a lot of the story would make sense, or it wouldn't be as meaningful.
Right.
I mean, it's a sequel for a reason.
Yeah. You are 100% right. I think that's going to do it for the show.
All right.
All right.
Play Final Fantasy X too. Don't listen to any of the haters.
Because they're out there.
There's a ton out there. I know that I mentioned it already, but if you want to know more about my opinions on this, I did write a blog post about it on my website, and it goes a lot more in depth than what I said verbally on this podcast. So, yeah.
I also have something about 10-2, but I don't remember what I said, so.
Yours is a combination of Mystic Quest and 10-2.
Yeah, I think it's more just like, here's how Square can be weird and have it work. Not necessarily the same way that yours was, so.
Yeah. But it's still worth reading.
2 good companion pieces to this very podcast. Yes. For more information from us, though, go to seasonlanimecheckup.com or sc.cool for past episodes, like our other 30 Final Fantasy episodes we've done now. We've done a lot.
Have we?
6, 7, 8, 10-2, and then the grab bag with World of Final Fantasy in it.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Okay.
So that's 5.
Wow. We've done a lot of Final Fantasy. What are we going to do 9?
That's a good question. Hang on, I'm going to make some math here. Wait. How do you math?
I don't know. I'm a historian.
7% of our podcasts have been Final Fantasy related?
Nice.
I think that math's out. 5 out of 35. I don't know. Math's hard. I'm an English major, so I don't deal with that. I don't deal with numbers. Numbers are weird.
I don't like numbers.
But you can go back and listen to all of our other episodes. Like last week, we talked about the Persona announcements, which is a good episode. Fortunately, I was right about something in that episode. And then there's a bunch of other good episodes as well you should go check out. Go read a bunch of articles on there as well. There's going to be a Persona 2 article sometime. I don't know if it's going to be up by the time this episode comes out, but it should be out maybe either... It just depends on how much time I have to write it. So maybe either out before this episode comes out or a little bit afterwards, so look forward to that. Which I think that's a Persona 2 Eternal Punishment is another game where, like we just talked about, where I don't know if you could get as much out of it as if you hadn't played A, Innocent Sin, which I think that's a little bit of it, but even the first Persona game, because there's a lot of callbacks to Persona 1 in that game that are very meaningful if you've played Persona 1. And also, I'm basically just going to talk about this in the article when I write it. Persona 2 Eternal Punishment is essentially the game people wanted like Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax to be that combination of 3 and 4 with the older 3 characters coming in to help, but being an RPG. That's Persona 2 Eternal Punishment in a nutshell.
Nice.
And they modernize a lot of like the mechanics that Persona 1 had that weren't that great. It's a very good game in a lot of surprising ways, and I'll write about that soon. For more from Ann Ladyem, go to annladyem.com where you can read her 10-2 piece, and other great writings from her as well are on there if you want to go check all those out.
Under reviews.
We're on Twitter at twitter.com/anime checkup, where you can get a hold of us for any type of comments whatsoever. It's a good place to talk to. Come chat with both of us. That's where we're both at.
If you have opinions on this episode or any other episodes, or just want to say hi, we're there.
Hello.
We're friendly for the most part.
And then next week we will figure something out.
Yes. I don't know if I'll be in Florida or not, but I am currently in Florida, and I'm going to go try not to melt.
You go do that. I'm going to, I don't know, I guess beat Persona 2. Try and beat that today.
Now I just want to go listen to the soundtrack for Final Fantasy X-2.
It's a good one.
It is. Even the not J-pop stuff is really, really good.
Yeah.
Go play Final Fantasy X-2, guys.
Moral of the story for this episode, the too long didn't read portion of it, go play Final Fantasy X-2.
Yes. Go do it.